Hello, my dear friends. Let us travel back very slowly, far beyond castles and kings, beyond written language, beyond even cities, to a time when there were no roads, no houses of brick, and no lamps glowing at night. Imagine the world nearly 10,000 years ago. The air is colder, the forests thicker, and the nights much darker than anything we know today. There are no windows, no glass, no distant lights on the horizon. When the sun disappears, true darkness arrives. You wake not in a bed, but on the ground inside a shelter made of branches, animal skins, and packed earth. The surface beneath you is uneven. There is no mattress and no pillow. You slept beside a small fire that burned low through the night, because if it went out completely, the cold would become dangerous before morning. Smoke still hangs in the air, and your eyes sting slightly as you open them. There is no quiet alarm clock, no gentle morning routine. You wake because the group is already moving. In the Stone Age, survival depends on daylight. Every hour of sunlight matters. Food does not come from storage, and there is no kitchen waiting with prepared meals. If nothing is gathered or hunted today, tomorrow may bring hunger. The first sensation you notice is temperature. Even in mild seasons, early mornings are cold. Your clothing is made from animal hide, heavy and stiff, tied with leather strips rather than stitched cloth. It protects you, but it is uncomfortable and smells strongly of smoke and earth because it cannot truly be washed. Water is saved for drinking, not cleaning garments. You step outside the shelter. The ground is damp with dew and there are no shoes shaped to your feet. Instead, you wear simple hide coverings or sometimes nothing at all. Every step must be careful. Stones, thorns, and sharp sticks are everywhere. Even a small cut matters here because infection is a serious danger. There are no medicines waiting in a cabinet. Breakfast does not exist as a prepared meal. The group begins the day immediately searching for food. Some gather roots, berries, and edible plants. Others follow tracks of animals left during the night. Hunger guides decisions. A successful day means eating well. An unsuccessful day means sharing very little among everyone. You quickly realize how much knowledge survival requires. People must recognize which plants are safe and which are harmful. Many berries look inviting but are dangerous. One mistake could make you ill within hours. The experienced members of the group move confidently through the landscape because they learned this knowledge from childhood. Without that knowledge, a newcomer would struggle immediately. Water must also be found. There is no well and no clean tap. The group walks to a nearby stream or river. The water is cold and clear but not always safe. Drinking it is necessary, yet it can still bring sickness. You kneel to drink carefully, knowing this is the only source available. Hunting is even harder. Weapons are simple, sharpened stone points tied to wooden shafts. There are no metal blades and no long-distance tools. Hunters must approach animals quietly and closely. This requires patience, endurance, and teamwork. A hunt may last hours. It may fail completely, and failure means going to sleep hungry. Throughout the day, your body grows tired. You walk constantly, sometimes miles across uneven ground. There are no chairs, no soft resting places, and little opportunity to sit comfortably. Rest happens briefly, often on rocks or fallen logs. Even relaxation demands alertness because the wilderness is shared with predators. As the sun lowers, the group returns to shelter. If hunting succeeded, meat is prepared over fire. Cooking takes time, and the smell draws both people and animals. The fire must be guarded. It provides warmth and safety, yet also requires fuel. Wood must be gathered daily, another task added to survival. Night arrives quickly, without artificial light. Darkness surrounds everything beyond the fire's glow. The forest becomes filled with distant sounds, moving animals, wind through trees, insects, and occasional calls that cannot easily be identified. People stay close together not from custom but from necessity. Safety exists in numbers. Sleep does not come easily. The ground is hard, the air cold, and the fire must be watched so it does not fade. Someone wakes regularly to add wood. The group cannot allow complete darkness inside the camp. Predators avoid flame, and flame means survival. And as you lie there looking into the small orange glow, you understand something clearly. Life here is not slow and peaceful as we sometimes imagine. It is constant attention, constant movement, and constant awareness. Every day depends on effort, knowledge, and cooperation. Comfort is rare. Security is never certain. The stars above shine brightly in the deep night sky, far clearer than modern eyes ever see. And the people around you rest carefully, ready to wake again before sunrise and repeat the same struggle. Morning comes again without warning, not with comfort, but with cold air pressing against your skin and the faint gray light spreading slowly across the horizon. There are no walls to block the wind. The shelter of branches and hides protects you only partially. During the night, the temperature dropped sharply, and your body never truly rested. Sleep in the Stone Age is light and alert, because danger never fully disappears. Even in peaceful regions, animals roam freely, and storms can form without notice. You rise stiff and sore. Your muscles ache from walking and from sleeping on hard ground. There is no stretching routine taught in comfort. Instead, you move immediately because movement keeps you warm. Fire must be checked. If the embers survived the night, they are carefully blown back into flame. If not, creating fire again becomes urgent and difficult. There are no matches. Fire must be sparked from stone or preserved from previous days. Losing fire entirely can mean serious risk, especially in cold climates. Hygiene, as we understand it, does not exist in the same way. There are no baths prepared, no soap, no change of clothing. Washing might happen in a river, but cold water discourages it and time is limited. Dirt remains on skin, smoke clings to hair, and the smell of the camp follows you everywhere. This is normal because survival takes priority over comfort. The group quickly discusses movement. Stone Age communities rarely stay in one place long unless resources are plentiful. Animals migrate. Plants ripen in different seasons. Water levels change. Remaining too long in one area can mean exhausting available food. So sometimes, after only a few days, everything must be packed and carried. There are no carts or wheels in early periods. Supplies are tied in bundles and carried by hand or over shoulders. Even children learn to walk long distances early in life. If today is a traveling day, the challenge grows harder. You carry tools made of stone, heavy, fragile, and valuable. A broken tool is not easily replaced. Making a sharp blade requires skill, patience, and suitable stone. So tools are guarded carefully. They are wrapped, tied, and secured during movement. Walking across wild land is exhausting. There are no cleared paths, no bridges over streams, No maps to guide direction. Knowledge of terrain is passed through memory and experience. The most experienced members lead, reading signs in the landscape, the direction of animal tracks, the shape of hills, the smell of water in the air. A modern person dropped into this environment would struggle immediately. Without that deep understanding of nature, even simple direction becomes uncertain. Food gathering continues during travel. Someone notices edible roots along the way. Another spots birds nesting low in brush. Every opportunity is used. Hunger does not wait for convenience. If a small animal can be caught, it is caught. If berries are ripe, they are gathered immediately because tomorrow they may be gone. Weather plays a powerful role. If rain begins, there is no waterproof jacket. Animal hides provide limited protection, but heavy rain soaks through. Wet clothing means cold skin, and cold skin means risk of illness. The group must find natural shelter quickly, perhaps beneath rock overhangs or dense trees. Storms are not mild inconveniences, they are serious threats. Injuries are common and serious. A twisted ankle while walking across rocky ground can slow the entire group. A deep cut from stone tools may become infected. There are herbal remedies known within the group, passed down through generations, but treatment is basic. Healing depends largely on the body's own strength. As the day stretches long, exhaustion builds again. There is no afternoon rest and comfort. The body works until light fades. When the group finally stops to build temporary shelter, everyone contributes. Branches are gathered, skins stretched, and firewood collected before darkness arrives. There is no time to relax before tasks are complete. Dinner, if available, is shared equally. Cooperation is not kindness here. It is survival. A selfish individual who refuses to share would not remain in the group for long. Social bonds are essential. Disputes must be resolved quickly, because unity protects against danger. When darkness falls once more, you feel every mile walked and every task completed. The ground is hard again. The fire is small but steady. Above you, the sky is vast and filled with stars so bright they seem almost close enough to touch. It is beautiful, but it is also unforgiving. You begin to understand why surviving even one full day would challenge a modern person. There is no safety net, no stored food, no medicine, no artificial shelter. Every moment requires awareness. Every task requires strength. Every decision matters. And as the flames flicker softly in the deep night, you realize that in the Stone Age, comfort was rare, certainty was unknown, and survival was earned hour by hour beneath an endless sky. As the next day unfolds, another challenge becomes clear. Food is never guaranteed. In the modern world, hunger usually means waiting a few hours. In the Stone Age, hunger could last much longer. A hunt might fail several days in a row, and gathering might produce only small portions. The group cannot simply try again later, because energy itself depends on food. Without enough nourishment, every task becomes harder, and weakness arrives quickly. You walk with the group across open land where grass moves in the wind. Hunters scan the ground carefully. They read the earth the way modern people read signs or screens. A bent blade of grass, a shallow print in soft soil, or broken twigs can tell them an animal passed hours earlier. They kneel, touch the ground, and speak quietly to each other. This knowledge took them a lifetime to learn. Without it, you would see only empty land. When prey is finally found, the work has just begun. Hunting does not mean chasing an animal for a few moments. It can mean following tracks for hours under the sun. The hunters move slowly and silently, conserving energy. They cannot waste effort running too soon. A thrown spear must be accurate because they carry only a few. Missing repeatedly means returning with nothing. Sometimes the hunt succeeds. The animal falls and relief spreads through the group. Yet even success brings hard labor. The animal must be carried, cut, and prepared using stone tools. Every part is used: meat for food, bones for tools, hide for clothing, sinew for binding. Nothing is wasted because nothing is easily replaced. The work lasts until hands ache and daylight fades, but many days the hunt fails. On those days, the group depends on gathered plants. Roots must be dug from hard soil using wooden sticks. Nuts must be cracked with stones. Some foods are bitter or difficult to chew. Meals are simple and often small. Children eat first, then adults share what remains. Hunger becomes familiar rather than unusual. Water presents its own effort. The nearest stream may be far from camp, requiring repeated trips. Heavy containers made from skins or carved wood are filled and carried carefully to avoid spilling. Clean water is precious, yet its quality cannot always be known. Illness from contaminated water can spread quickly in a small group. As afternoon heat rises, insects gather. There is no spray or netting. Bites and stings are constant. Some cause irritation, others infection. Smoke from the fire helps slightly, so the group keeps small smoky flames nearby whenever possible. The smell follows them everywhere, clinging to skin and clothing, becoming part of daily life. Another difficulty appears as the sun lowers: time itself. Without clocks, people rely on light and memory. Activities must be completed before darkness. There is no continuing work at night except what the firelight allows, and firelight reaches only a few steps beyond the flames. Once darkness falls, the world beyond the camp disappears completely. The group gathers around the fire in the evening, not for entertainment alone, but for safety. Light discourages predators, and togetherness provides protection. Stories are shared, lessons passed to children, and tools repaired. Stone blades are sharpened carefully, sparks flying with each strike. These quiet hours also teach knowledge: where animals travel, which plants heal wounds, how to read the sky for weather changes. Cold returns quickly after sunset. Even in warmer climates, nights can chill the body. Without thick bedding, warmth comes from closeness and fire. Sleep is interrupted by sounds, animals moving nearby, branches breaking, wind rising suddenly. Every unfamiliar noise wakes someone. Alertness never fully fades. You begin to understand the true difficulty of living here. It is not only the labor but the constant attention. There is no moment when survival stops requiring effort. Every day repeats similar tasks, and every mistake carries consequence. A wrong plant, a missed step, a careless tool. Each could end the day badly. Yet there is also cooperation. People share food, help carry supplies, and protect children. No individual survives alone. Community is not a social preference. It is the only reason survival is possible. Each person depends on the others completely. The fire burns low now as the group prepares to sleep again beneath the vast night sky. Above, countless stars fill the darkness with quiet light. It is peaceful to look at, yet you feel how fragile life is in this time. There are no barriers between humans and nature. The world is beautiful, but it demands strength, skill, and endurance every single day. And lying beside the fading embers, you understand clearly why even one full day here would challenge someone unprepared for the realities of the Stone Age. As another dawn slowly appears, you begin to notice something deeper than hunger or cold. The greatest challenge of the Stone Age is not just physical effort, it is uncertainty. In the modern world, most days follow expectation. In this ancient world, nothing is guaranteed. Weather, animals, and even the landscape itself change without warning, and every person must constantly adapt. The group wakes before sunrise because travel is easier in cool air. Today they must move again. Staying in one place too long risks exhausting nearby plants and frightening away animals, so the camp is taken apart quickly. Shelters built the previous evening are dismantled, hides folded, tools gathered, and ashes from the fire scattered. There is no permanent home. Home is wherever safety can be created for a single night. Carrying everything becomes its own difficulty. You feel the weight of even simple tools: a stone hand axe, a spear, a bundle of hides, a small supply of dried food. Over uneven ground, each step requires balance. The land offers no level paths. Hills, mud, loose stones, and thick grass slow movement constantly. The group walks for hours, sometimes in silence, saving energy and listening for danger. Along the journey, signs of animals appear, not only prey but predators. Large cats, wolves, and other hunters share the same territory. You see claw marks on a tree and bones scattered near a clearing. These are warnings, and the group responds carefully. Children are kept close. Voices stay low. Spears are held ready, not because attack is certain, but because caution is necessary every moment. Midday heat brings another difficulty: thirst. Water sources are not always nearby. The group remembers a stream farther ahead, but until it is reached, mouths dry and energy fades. Walking while thirsty makes every step heavier. When water finally appears, everyone kneels quickly, drinking slowly so the body does not react badly to sudden intake. Relief spreads, yet even here vigilance remains. Predators also come to drink. In the afternoon, gathering begins again. Women and men both search for edible plants using memory and experience. Some roots must be cooked before eating. Some leaves help wounds heal. A modern person would struggle to recognize any of them. The land holds food, but only to those who understand it. Without guidance, it would seem empty. A sudden sound interrupts the quiet. Distant thunder. The sky darkens quickly. Storms in this age are serious. There is no sturdy roof, no window to close. The group rushes to find shelter, choosing a rock overhang where wind is weaker. Rain begins heavily, soaking ground and clothing. Cold follows immediately. Fire cannot easily be lit in wet conditions, and without fire, warmth disappears. Everyone huddles together beneath the rock. Hours pass as rain falls steadily. There is little conversation because conserving energy matters. The group waits patiently, accepting that nature decides the pace of life. No one complains loudly. Experience has taught them that storms pass eventually, but patience is required. When the rain finally slows, the ground is muddy and slippery. Building a new fire becomes urgent. Dry material is gathered from beneath fallen trees and inside hollow trunks. Sparks are struck carefully from stone. It takes time and repeated effort before smoke appears and then flame. When the fire finally grows, relief is visible on every face. Night arrives colder than usual after the storm. Wet clothing takes long to dry and bodies stay chilled. The fire is fed constantly and everyone sits close. Food tonight is small, only gathered plants and a few remaining scraps from earlier hunting. Yet sharing continues equally. Fairness keeps peace within the group. As you lie down once more on the hard earth, you understand another truth. Surviving the Stone Age was not about strength alone. It required endurance, patience, cooperation, and deep knowledge of the land. Every person learned these from childhood. Without those years of learning, even basic tasks feel overwhelming. Above, the sky clears, revealing bright stars once again. The storm has passed, but tomorrow will bring new uncertainty. In this world, each sunrise begins another test, and each sunset marks a day successfully endured. By now you begin to understand that survival here depends not only on finding food and shelter, but on learning the rhythm of nature itself. The people around you do not measure time by numbers or calendars. They measure it by seasons, by the movement of animals, by the changing position of the sun, and by the behavior of plants. Their knowledge is quiet and constant, and without it even a simple day becomes confusing. The morning begins with fog resting low across the land. Visibility is limited, and the group moves slowly. Experienced hunters watch the sky carefully. They notice birds circling in a certain direction and follow them, knowing birds often gather near water or animal movement. To an outsider, this seems almost instinctive, but it is actually observation learned over many years. Children grow up hearing stories that teach where animals travel in winter, where fish gather in warmer months, and which valleys protect against cold winds. Today the group attempts fishing. There are no nets made from modern material, only simple woven fibers and sharpened sticks. Reaching the river requires walking along slippery banks and stepping carefully over stones. The water is cold enough to numb your feet within moments. Yet the hunters wade in quietly, waiting for fish to move close. They stand still for long periods because sudden movement scares prey away. Patience replaces speed. Eventually, a spear strikes the water and a small fish is lifted out. It is not large, but it is valuable. Several fish are caught after long effort. They are carried back to camp where a small cooking fire is prepared. Even preparing food is work. Wood must be cut or broken, stones arranged to hold heat, and the fire maintained carefully. Smoke rises slowly, keeping insects away while cooking begins. The smell of fish spreads, drawing attention from far across the quiet landscape. While some cook, others repair tools. Stone tools dull quickly. A skilled person sits with a hammerstone, carefully striking flakes from a larger rock. Each strike must be precise. A wrong angle can shatter the tool entirely. Sparks flash in small bursts as chips fall to the ground. New blades are tied to wooden handles with sinew taken from previous hunts. These tools will be needed tomorrow because survival never pauses. In the afternoon, children learn through watching. No one gives formal lessons. Instead, they imitate adults, practicing small throws with sticks, learning to recognize safe plants, and understanding which sounds in the forest signal danger. Knowledge here is not written. It lives only in memory and teaching. If it is forgotten, survival becomes uncertain. As evening approaches, the group gathers more wood than seems necessary. Night fires must last until morning. Without steady flame, Predators might approach. The forest becomes very dark after sunset. There are no distant lights, no glowing horizon. Only the circle of fire separates safety from the unknown beyond. The night brings unfamiliar sounds. Rustling leaves, distant howls, and the movement of animals passing near camp. People listen carefully, but do not panic. They have heard these sounds since childhood and understand which ones require action and which do not. For you, every sound feels alarming because the environment is unfamiliar. Before sleeping, the group shares food evenly. Even the smallest portion is divided fairly. Cooperation matters more than individual hunger. Someone who keeps food selfishly weakens trust, and without trust the group cannot function. Social harmony is as important as physical strength. You lie beside the fire again, feeling both exhausted and alert. The ground remains hard and smoke drifts into the air above you. The stars shine brilliantly across the sky, untouched by artificial light. It is beautiful, but also humbling. Here, humans are not masters of the world. They are part of it, depending on knowledge and cooperation to survive each passing day. And as the flames flicker gently and the night deepens, you understand why living here requires a lifetime of learning. The people of the Stone Age did not survive by luck. They survived by experience, observation, and community. Things a modern visitor would struggle to master quickly enough to endure even a single day. As another quiet morning arrives, you begin to notice that danger in this world does not always come from large animals or storms. Sometimes it comes from the smallest things. Illness, which in modern life might feel minor, becomes serious here. There are no clinics, no stored medicine, and no quick treatment waiting nearby. A simple fever can weaken a person for many days, and during those days the group must continue moving and working. You watch as one member of the group wakes slowly, moving with less strength than the others. Their breathing is heavier, and their face looks tired. Immediately the group adjusts its plans. They do not abandon the person, because cooperation is survival, but they must move more carefully. The strongest individuals carry extra tools and supplies so the weaker one can walk more easily. This slows the journey, yet no one complains. Everyone understands that someday they may need the same help. Healing relies on knowledge passed through generations. Certain leaves are crushed and placed on wounds. Bitter roots are boiled into simple drinks. These remedies do not always cure illness, but they sometimes ease pain or help recovery. The group remembers which plants helped before and where to find them. Memory itself becomes a form of protection. Travel today leads into thicker forest. Tall trees block sunlight, and the ground is covered in roots and fallen branches. Walking here requires constant attention. A misstep could twist an ankle, and a twisted ankle can prevent travel. You realize how fragile mobility is. Modern roads and flat floors make movement effortless, but here every step demands care. Midday passes with little food found. Hunger slowly returns, not sharp, but persistent. The group remains calm, conserving energy. They know that panic wastes strength. Instead, they search patiently, turning stones to find insects, checking hollow logs for small animals, and examining the forest floor for edible mushrooms they recognize safely. Without knowledge, these mushrooms would be risky, but they know the safe varieties. Eventually, a small animal is caught, not large, but enough to provide nourishment. Preparation begins immediately. Fire is lit, and the animal is cooked carefully to avoid sickness. Nothing is discarded. Bones are saved for tools, skin for binding material. Every resource matters because replacement is uncertain. As the afternoon fades, another task begins: maintaining tools and clothing. Animal hides must be softened repeatedly, or they become stiff and crack. People stretch and rub the hides with fat and water, working patiently for long periods. It is slow labor, yet necessary. Without proper clothing, cold nights become dangerous. You also notice communication within the group. They do not speak constantly, but when they do, it is meaningful. Gestures, simple words, and expressions convey information quickly. Silence is common because listening to the environment matters more than conversation. A snapped branch or sudden bird flight may signal nearby movement. Evening comes and the group chooses a campsite carefully. They avoid low ground where water collects and avoid open spaces where wind blows strongly. They select a place near trees for shelter, and near, but not too near, a water source. Experience guides every decision. Safety is planned before darkness falls. The fire is built higher tonight. The forest feels dense and unfamiliar, and extra light offers comfort. People sit close together, repairing tools, sharing food, and quietly observing the surroundings. Children sleep near adults, protected by both warmth and watchfulness. You feel the weight of constant awareness. In modern life, the mind rests often, but here the mind never fully relaxes. Hearing, sight, and attention remain active even during rest. Survival depends not only on strength but on alertness maintained day and night. The flames move gently. Shadows dance across tree trunks, and the forest settles into night sounds once more. Above the branches, small openings reveal stars between leaves. The group prepares to sleep again, knowing tomorrow will repeat similar effort, similar caution, and similar endurance. And as you lie beside the steady fire, you understand that the true challenge of the Stone Age is not a single hardship, but the continuous chain of effort required every hour. Living here is not an adventure for a day. It is a lifelong practice of attention, patience, and shared survival. With another sunrise, you slowly begin to understand that one of the hardest parts of Stone Age life is not only survival, but learning without explanation. There are no written instructions, no maps, and no recorded knowledge stored anywhere except in memory. Every skill must be watched, practiced, and remembered. A mistake is not corrected by reading a guide. It is corrected by experience, and experience sometimes comes with real danger. This morning, the group focuses on tool making. The hunters gather near a flat rock, choosing carefully shaped stones collected from a riverbank days earlier. Not every rock can become a tool. Only certain kinds fracture in sharp edges. They test each stone by striking it lightly, listening to the sound it produces. A clear, ringing sound means the stone will break properly. A dull sound means it will crumble uselessly. You sit nearby and watch. A skilled maker holds one stone in one hand and strikes it with another. The blow is controlled, angled precisely. A thin flake breaks away, leaving a razor-sharp edge. Another strike shapes the point. Slowly, patiently, a blade appears. It takes long concentration and steady hands. One wrong strike ruins hours of effort. This blade will serve many purposes: cutting meat, scraping hides, shaping wood. In a world without metal, stone is the most valuable material available. People carry these tools constantly. Losing one matters. Breaking one matters. Replacing one requires both time and skill. Children observe carefully, imitating movements with smaller stones. They are not formally taught in lessons. Instead, they learn by copying. An elder corrects gently, guiding the angle of the strike, showing how to hold the stone safely. Knowledge passes directly from one person to another. There is no separation between daily life and education. Every moment is instruction. Later in the day, another essential task begins, preparing firewood for the coming night. Wood must be gathered before sunset because darkness makes the forest difficult to navigate. The group spreads outward but stays within hearing distance. Each person collects fallen branches, never wasting energy cutting living trees unless necessary. Dry wood burns best and produces less smoke. While gathering, you notice tracks in soft earth, larger than deer, heavier, pressing deep into the ground. The group recognizes them quickly. A large predator passed here recently. Instantly, the atmosphere changes. Voices lower, movement slows, and everyone returns closer together. Spears are held ready, not in panic, but in preparation. Survival depends on caution, long before danger appears. The group moves to a different area, choosing a safer campsite with clearer surroundings. Here they can see approaching animals earlier. The fire is placed in an open space so its light spreads wider. Even camp placement is a protective decision. Food tonight is limited again. Berries and roots gathered earlier are shared. Hunger is familiar but controlled. No one eats quickly. Portions are small but carefully divided so each person has enough to continue tomorrow's work. Cooperation prevents conflict, and conflict would threaten everyone. After eating, the group sits near the fire and begins repairing clothing. Animal hides are stitched using bone needles and sinew threads. The work is slow and detailed. Without proper clothing, cold nights would weaken the body quickly. Clothing here is not decoration. It is protection. As darkness deepens, the forest becomes louder. Owls call, insects hum, and distant animals move through brush. The fire crackles steadily, sending sparks upward into the black sky. People take turns staying awake, watching the fire and listening for unusual sounds. Guarding the camp is shared responsibility. Lying near the warmth, you feel exhaustion from constant movement and attention. Yet you also notice how organized this life truly is. Nothing is wasted. Every action has purpose. Every skill connects directly to survival. The people around you do not hurry, but they never become careless. You realize a modern person struggles here not because the people are primitive, but because the environment demands awareness. Modern life no longer requires. Without knowledge of tools, land, animals, and weather, even basic tasks become overwhelming. The fire burns low, and one of the watchers adds more wood quietly. The circle of light remains steady against the surrounding darkness. Above, the stars appear endless, and the group settles into another careful night of rest beneath the open sky. Another morning arrives, and this time you begin to notice the emotional challenge of this life, something less visible than hunger or cold, but just as important. In the Stone Age, there is no true privacy. The group lives closely together every hour of every day. People sleep beside each other, travel together, eat together, and work together. There is no separate room to rest alone, and no quiet place to escape thought. Cooperation is constant because isolation would be dangerous. The day begins with preparation for a longer hunt. Tracks discovered the previous evening suggested a herd of grazing animals nearby. The hunters move early, before sunlight fully reaches the ground. The air is cool and silent. Everyone walks carefully, stepping where others stepped to reduce sound. Even breathing is controlled. A snapped twig could warn animals far ahead. Hours pass slowly as they follow the trail. The ground changes from forest soil to open grassland, and visibility improves. The herd appears in the distance, moving steadily while feeding. The hunters spread apart in a planned pattern, communicating with gestures rather than words. Each person knows their position because they have practiced this many times before. This hunt requires endurance more than speed. Rather than sudden attack, they approach gradually, guiding the animals toward a natural barrier such as a slope or dense trees. Patience replaces force. Under the rising sun, the hunters walk long distances, conserving energy and keeping direction. A modern person would tire quickly, but they move steadily, trained by years of daily walking. Eventually, a moment comes. A spear is thrown carefully. The animal falls after a struggle, and the group gathers quickly to finish the task respectfully and efficiently. Relief spreads quietly. This success means food for several days, warmth from hides, and materials for tools. Work begins immediately. The animal must be prepared before scavengers arrive. Using stone blades, the hunters cut carefully. Each movement is practiced and precise. Meat is separated, organs examined for signs of illness, and useful materials set aside. Even in success, caution continues because other predators may approach the smell. Carrying the meat back requires teamwork. Portions are divided so everyone carries part of the weight. The journey home is slow and careful. Rest stops occur, but never for long. The group knows they must return before darkness. Back at camp, cooking begins. Fire is built stronger than usual. Some meat is roasted, some smoked for preservation. Smoke curls into the air, and for the first time in several days there is enough food for a satisfying meal. Spirits rise, though still calm. Celebration here is quiet, not loud. Gratitude shows through shared portions and relaxed conversation. Evening brings a rare sense of security. Full stomachs ease tension. Children laugh softly while adults repair tools and prepare hides. The hide is stretched on wooden frames and scraped clean to prevent decay. This work continues by firelight long into the night because success must be preserved. You realize something important. Survival here is not a single action. It is a chain of many small correct decisions. Tracking correctly, hunting patiently, sharing fairly, and preparing carefully all connect. Missing one step weakens the next day. The stars appear again overhead, brighter than any modern sky. People sit close to the fire and stories are told quietly, not for entertainment alone, but to teach memory. Stories explain animal behavior, safe places to travel, and dangers to avoid. Knowledge survives because stories carry it forward. As you lie down beside the warm earth, you finally understand another reason a modern person would struggle here. Life requires constant participation. There is no passive moment, no idle day. Every person contributes. Without contribution, the group weakens, and weakness risks survival. The fire crackles softly, the night air cools, and the group rests after a long and successful day. knowing tomorrow will begin again with the same careful attention to the land around them. With the passing days, you begin to notice another quiet truth about this world. The Stone Age is ruled not by clocks, but by seasons. Survival changes completely, depending on the time of year. A place that feels safe and full of life in warm weather can become harsh and empty when cold arrives. People must prepare long before conditions change, because once winter begins, it is already too late to gather what was forgotten. The air now feels cooler in the mornings. Mist stays longer above the ground and animals move differently. The group recognizes these small signs immediately. They understand that colder weeks are approaching, and their behavior changes. Instead of traveling constantly, they begin to prepare a more stable camp in a sheltered valley protected from wind. Nearby trees will provide firewood, and a stream offers water even when temperatures drop. Preparation requires steady effort. Wood is collected in large amounts and stacked carefully to keep it dry. Hides are repaired and layered into thicker coverings. Simple storage pits are dug into the ground, lined with stones and leaves, allowing some dried meat and gathered plants to be preserved longer. None of this guarantees comfort, but it increases chances of survival. Food gathering also becomes more urgent. Berries are collected before they disappear. Nuts are gathered and cracked open with stones. Some are eaten immediately, others stored in skin pouches. Every small success matters. A modern person might underestimate how much effort a handful of food requires. But here each piece represents hours of searching. Cold nights arrive gradually. The fire grows larger each evening, and everyone sleeps closer together for warmth. Smoke fills the shelter more heavily because entrances are covered to block wind. Eyes water, and breathing becomes thick with ash and scent, yet it is necessary. Warmth matters more than comfort. Hunting grows harder. Animals move farther in search of food, and tracks become more difficult to follow in frozen ground. Hunters walk longer distances, sometimes returning empty-handed. On those nights, meals are small again, and hunger returns quietly. No one panics because this rhythm is expected, but energy must be conserved. Water also becomes challenging. Streams begin to freeze along the edges. Ice must be broken carefully each morning. Hands numb quickly in cold water, and drying them near fire takes time. Wet skin in cold air can become dangerous, so everyone works carefully and slowly. You notice how much the group relies on each other now. Individuals rarely wander alone. Even simple tasks, such as collecting wood, are done in pairs or small groups. Winter reduces margin for error. An accident far from camp could be fatal because rescue would be difficult. Inside the shelter during long evenings, activity continues. Tools are sharpened again and again. Hides are stitched into thicker clothing. Stories are told softly while children listen closely. These stories are not just for comfort. They teach memory. Where animals return when spring comes, which valleys flood after heavy rain, and which hills provide safe passage. Sleep becomes deeper but also more fragile. Cold wakes people often, and someone must rise to feed the fire repeatedly through the night. The glowing embers are watched carefully. Losing the fire in freezing conditions would create serious danger before morning. You begin to understand that survival here depends on preparation more than strength. The group survives winter not because they fight nature, but because they anticipate it. They gather early, repair tools early, and move carefully. Knowledge passed through generations guides every decision. Outside, frost forms across the ground, and the sky shines clear and sharp above the silent land. The world feels vast and powerful, while the small camp of people survives only through cooperation and awareness. And as you lie near the steady warmth of the fire, wrapped in heavy hides, you realize again why lasting even a single day here would be difficult for someone unprepared. The Stone Age does not forgive mistakes, and each season tests survival in a different way beneath the open sky. The cold season deepens, and now you begin to see perhaps the greatest challenge of all: darkness. Winter does not only bring lower temperature, it shortens the day itself. The sun rises late and sets early, leaving long hours of night when movement becomes difficult and tasks must stop. Without artificial light, the world beyond the fire simply disappears into shadow. Morning light arrives slowly, pale and weak behind heavy clouds. Frost covers the ground and every breath becomes visible in the air. When you step outside the shelter, the earth feels hard beneath your feet. The group wastes no time. Even though the air is bitterly cold, they begin working immediately because daylight is limited. A delayed start could mean unfinished tasks before night returns. Today the hunters attempt tracking again, but frozen soil hides footprints. Instead, they watch the landscape itself. They follow broken reeds near the river and disturbed snow along the tree line. They search for areas where animals have eaten bark from trees, a sign that food sources are scarce and animals remain nearby. Their attention is patient and precise. Without this observation, the land would appear empty. The hunt lasts hours and success is uncertain. Hunger grows stronger in winter because the body uses more energy to stay warm. Every step requires effort, and heavy hides restrict movement. Eventually, a small animal is caught, not large but enough to share. Even a modest success brings relief because winter offers few chances. Back at camp, most of the day is already gone. Firewood must be gathered before dark, and darkness approaches quickly. People work faster now, carrying branches, breaking larger pieces, and stacking them close to the shelter entrance. Fire is no longer just warmth, it is life. It dries wet clothing, melts ice for water, cooks food, and discourages predators who roam more boldly in cold weather. Inside the shelter, smoke thickens as openings are covered against wind. Eyes sting, but the heat is necessary. People sit close together, wrapped in layered hides. Conversation is soft. Energy must be conserved. Meals are smaller than in warmer seasons, so bodies feel constantly tired. Night stretches long. There are no activities far from the fire. Tool repair, hide scraping, and quiet storytelling fill the hours. Children sleep early. Adults remain awake longer to tend the flames. Someone always watches the entrance, listening for movement beyond the shelter. Outside, the forest changes in winter. Sound travels farther in cold air. A distant crack of ice or step of an animal echoes clearly. Wolves may pass near, curious but cautious of firelight. The group does not panic. They simply maintain the fire and remain together. Isolation would be dangerous, but unity keeps safety. You begin to notice how mental endurance matters as much as physical strength. The long darkness, the constant cold, and the repetition of survival tasks weigh on the mind. Yet the group stays calm. They rely on routine. Each person knows their role: gathering wood, maintaining tools, watching the fire, caring for children. Routine provides stability when the environment offers none. As you settle near the warm glow once more, you realize how different comfort truly is here. Comfort is not soft bedding or quiet entertainment. Comfort is the steady flame that survives the night, the shared food that prevents hunger, and the presence of others who watch over one another. Above the shelter roof, the winter sky shines clear and filled with brilliant stars. The air is silent except for the crackle of burning wood. The world feels immense and indifferent, yet the small group endures together, one night at a time, waiting for the slow return of longer days. And in that stillness you understand again. Living even one full day in the Stone Age would require knowledge, patience, and resilience far beyond what most modern lives demand. Slowly, almost without notice, the season begins to change. The mornings remain cold, yet the sun stays a little longer above the horizon each day. The group senses it before you do. They watch birds returning, listen for new sounds in the forest, and notice the snow softening near the edges of the stream. For them, this is not just weather. It is relief. Spring means movement again, fresh plants, and new chances for food. The first green shoots appear along the riverbank. Immediately gathering begins. People kneel on the damp ground, carefully pulling edible leaves and roots. After months of small meals, fresh plants are valuable. They provide strength the body has lacked during winter. Knowledge matters here again because some early plants nourish while others harm. Each plant is recognized not by written description, but by memory passed through generations. The group begins traveling once more. Winter shelters are left behind. Nothing permanent remains except ashes scattered across the ground. Their life continues forward because staying too long risks exhausting nearby food. Movement returns as the normal rhythm. The land opens and animals move in wider paths as they search for grass. Tracks become easier to follow in soft soil. Hunters kneel frequently, touching the ground, examining broken stems and shallow prints. Their patience continues for hours. They understand the behavior of animals, where they rest, where they drink, and where they travel at certain times of day. Hunting is not force but understanding. Along the journey, another task appears: tool replacement. Winter wear has weakened many stone blades. Near a riverbank, the group stops where suitable stone is found. Several people spend hours shaping new points and scrapers. Sharp edges return and tools are tied securely to wooden shafts. Without proper tools, food preparation and shelter building would fail quickly. Water flows faster now as ice melts. Crossing streams becomes risky. There are no bridges. People step carefully from stone to stone, helping children across. Supplies are lifted high to keep them dry. A fall into cold water could lead to sickness, so everyone moves slowly and deliberately. Food improves gradually. Fish return to the river and traps made from woven branches are placed in shallow water. Small catches accumulate. Combined with gathered plants, meals grow slightly larger. Strength returns slowly, and spirits lift. Laughter becomes more common around the evening fire, yet danger has not disappeared. With spring also come insects and sickness carried by them. Bites cover exposed skin. Scratching can lead to infection. Smoke from fires helps keep insects away, so fires burn even during daylight hours when possible. Shelters built now are lighter and temporary because travel will continue. Branches are bent and covered with hides to block wind and rain. These structures last only a few nights before the group moves again. Comfort is never permanent. It is created briefly wherever the group stops. Evenings become longer as daylight grows. Around the fire, stories are shared more often. These stories carry memory. Which valley floods after heavy rain? Which path leads to safer ground? And which animals should be avoided? The children listen carefully, because one day they will lead the group using this same knowledge. You notice how much survival depends on teaching. Without writing, the past lives only in spoken memory. Each story protects the future. Forgetting would mean repeating danger. Night settles gently over the open land. The air is softer than winter and the fire burns steadily. The group rests after another day of travel and gathering, prepared to rise again at first light. And as you lie beneath the open sky, you understand that survival here is not a single test but a continuous cycle. Season after season, lesson after lesson, demanding awareness every day, every hour, beneath the vast and patient world around them. Now, after many days moving with the group, you begin to realize the hardest lesson of this world is not hunting, not cold, and not hunger. It is responsibility. In the Stone Age, every person, no matter their age, has a purpose. Survival does not allow anyone to remain idle. Even the smallest contribution matters because the group functions like a single living body, and if one part weakens, the whole group struggles. Morning begins earlier than you expect. The sky is still dim when people start moving. There is no sleeping late because daylight hours are precious. Before the sun rises fully, the fire must be rebuilt, embers uncovered, and smoke carefully coaxed back into flame. Fire rarely starts from nothing. It is protected constantly. Someone always preserved hot coals through the night beneath ash so morning warmth could return quickly. Losing fire would mean long effort striking sparks again, and sometimes failure. Today the group prepares for travel across open terrain. This land offers fewer trees and less shelter. Wind moves freely here, and the ground stretches wide and exposed. Because of this, planning becomes careful. Water skins are filled completely. Food is wrapped securely in hides. Tools are checked repeatedly. A forgotten item cannot be replaced easily once the journey begins. Walking begins steadily. The pace is not fast, but it never stops for long. Each person carries weight according to their strength. Children carry small bundles so they learn responsibility early. Adults carry heavier tools, hides, and gathered food. The sun rises higher and heat slowly replaces the morning chill. Without shade, the body tires quickly. Rest stops are brief and purposeful, taken near rocks or low ground that blocks wind. By midday, thirst becomes serious again. Lips dry, breathing deepens, and the group scans constantly for water signs, greener plants, insect activity, or birds flying in repeated directions. Finally, a shallow stream appears in the distance. Relief spreads quietly. Everyone drinks slowly, careful not to waste energy or upset the body with sudden overdrinking. Containers are refilled because the next water source is never certain. The afternoon brings another lesson. Navigation. There are no landmarks shaped by roads or buildings. Direction comes from memory and observation. The sun's path, the shape of hills, and the flow of rivers guide movement. Certain rock formations are remembered across generations. An elder points toward distant mountains, explaining through gesture and simple words that beyond them lies better hunting ground. The group trusts this memory completely. Later they stop and build a temporary shelter before evening. Open land cools quickly after sunset. Poles are pushed into the ground, hides stretched across them, and a windbreak formed. The fire is placed slightly outside so smoke does not fill the shelter, yet warmth still reaches inside. Every detail is considered. Poor placement would mean a cold and dangerous night. Food tonight is modest again. Dried meat saved earlier and gathered plants. The meal is eaten slowly. No one rushes because food must last. Sharing remains equal. Even the hunter who worked hardest receives the same portion. Equality keeps harmony, and harmony keeps survival possible. As darkness spreads, the sky turns vast and clear. Without trees overhead, the stars appear brighter than ever. The group sits quietly. Some repair tools, others simply rest, conserving energy. You notice how calm they remain despite uncertainty. They do not worry about tomorrow loudly. They prepare quietly instead. Before sleep, watch duties are decided without argument. One person stays awake while others rest. Then another replaces them later. This rotation protects everyone. A single sleeping camp would be vulnerable. Responsibility continues even through the night. Lying beneath layered hides, you finally understand something important. A modern person struggles here not because life is impossible, but because life requires constant participation. There is no separation between living and surviving. Every action, walking, watching, gathering, sharing, directly affects whether the group sees another sunrise. The wind moves gently across the open land. The fire glows steady, and the group rests once more beneath the immense sky, prepared to rise again with the first faint light of morning. As the journey continues, you begin to notice that survival in this world depends as much on observation as on strength. The people around you are always watching the land. They notice changes so small you might overlook them completely. A shift in wind direction, the sudden silence of birds, or the movement of distant grass can all carry meaning. The Stone Age landscape is not quiet to them. It is full of signals. This morning the group wakes to a stillness in the air. No birds call and even insects seem absent. Immediately, the older members of the group become cautious. They scan the tree line and open ground carefully. Silence in nature often means a large animal is nearby. Instead of rushing forward with daily tasks, they wait and listen. After some time, faint movement appears near a distant ridge, a herd of grazing animals moving slowly across the land. Relief replaces tension. The silence was caused by their passing, not by a predator. The group adjusts its plans. Rather than traveling immediately, they follow at a distance. A herd means opportunity, but also danger if approached without patience. The hunters study the direction of wind, so their scent does not carry. They move in wide arcs, staying low behind rocks and brush. Hours pass in careful tracking. There is no impatience here. Rushing would end the hunt. Eventually, the group positions itself near a narrow valley where animals must pass. Instead of direct pursuit, they guide the herd gently using presence and sound, steering them toward a natural barrier. The technique depends on teamwork. Each person moves at the right moment, not too soon, not too late. It is quiet coordination learned through many shared hunts. When success comes, the work begins immediately. The animal is approached carefully and respectfully. The hunters act quickly to prepare it, because delay invites other predators. Every motion is efficient, practiced through repetition. You notice there is no celebration in loud noise, only focused effort. The true reward is food and survival, not excitement. Carrying the meat back to camp requires multiple trips. The group organizes itself smoothly. Some guard the remains, others transport portions, and others gather wood for cooking. No one stands idle because each moment matters. Sunlight will fade, and preparation must be finished before darkness. Back at camp, smoke rises steadily as meat cooks and some is dried for future days. The smell spreads through the evening air. Children watch closely, learning where to cut, how to clean tools, and how to preserve food. Teaching happens without formal instruction. It happens through participation. As night approaches, the group becomes alert again. The scent of cooked meat can attract scavengers. The fire is kept brighter than usual. People remain near it, and the perimeter of the camp is watched. A distant howl is heard once, then fades. The group remains calm, but ready. You sit near the fire, noticing how everyone contributes. One person sharpens blades, another prepares hides, another tends children. There is no separation between important and unimportant tasks. Every role supports the others. Without cooperation, the group could not last long. The stars appear once again above the open sky, steady and brilliant. The warmth of the fire spreads slowly into the cool air. After a day of careful tracking, long walking, and steady work, the group rests. Yet even in rest, someone remains awake, watching the darkness beyond the circle of light. And you understand again why lasting even a single day would be difficult for someone untrained. The Stone Age demands awareness every moment, not only strength of body, but attention of mind and trust in others who share the same fragile safety beneath the endless sky. After many days with the group, you begin to understand something even deeper than survival skills. Life here is built around memory. Nothing is written down, nothing is stored in books, and there are no maps carved into stone walls to guide the next generation. Instead, the entire past lives inside people's minds. Every safe path, every dangerous valley, every season of animal movement is remembered and retold. Forgetting is dangerous, so remembering becomes a daily responsibility. This morning, the group prepares to move toward higher ground. The valley that fed them through spring is slowly changing. Grass has thinned, and animals travel less often through this area. The elder of the group recognizes the signs. Without needing discussion, the decision is accepted. They have traveled this route before, perhaps many years ago, and memory guides their steps more reliably than any drawn map could. The journey upward is slow. The land becomes rocky and uneven. Loose stones slide underfoot, and climbing requires balance and patience. Each person helps the others. Stronger adults steady children across steep sections. Tools are carried carefully so they do not fall and break. A dropped stone blade might shatter on rock, and replacing it in this terrain would be difficult. Along the path, plants change. Taller grasses disappear, replaced by shorter growth and scattered bushes. The group pauses often to gather what they recognize as edible. Even small handfuls matter because travel consumes energy. No opportunity for food is ignored. Clouds gather as afternoon approaches. The wind grows colder at higher elevation, and the group searches for a sheltered place to camp. They choose a natural hollow protected by large rocks that block the wind. Immediately, everyone begins work. Some gather wood from sparse trees. Others prepare the ground by clearing sharp stones. Hides are stretched across branches to form a windbreak, and the fire is placed carefully where smoke will escape, but warmth will remain. Rain begins lightly, tapping against hides and rock. The shelter holds, though water drips occasionally along the edges. The group sits close together, conserving heat. Cooking begins slowly, and steam rises from wet clothing drying near the flames. No one complains. This is expected. Weather is not an interruption here. It is part of life. Inside the shelter, the elder begins telling a story quietly to the younger ones. It describes a harsh winter from years long past, and the path the group took to find safety. The story is not entertainment alone. It is instruction. The children listen closely because someday they will need this memory. Every generation inherits survival knowledge in this way. Night comes earlier in the mountains. Darkness settles quickly between rocks, and the fire becomes the only light. Outside, wind moves steadily across the slopes. The group checks the fire repeatedly, adding wood to keep warmth strong. Cold at this height is sharper than in the valley below. As you lie near the fire, you understand how knowledge replaces technology. Where modern people rely on tools and stored supplies, these people rely on shared memory and cooperation. Their security does not come from walls or machines, but from experience carried through generations. The rain fades, leaving the air clear and cold. Above the rocks, the stars appear again, bright and endless across the sky. The group rests, trusting their preparation and each other, ready to continue tomorrow across the wide and ancient landscape that shapes every part of their lives. The next morning arrives with clear air and a pale golden light spreading slowly across the rocky hills. From this higher ground you can see far across the land, forests in the distance, rivers shining faintly, and wide open plains beyond. The people of the group pause for a moment before beginning their work. They are not resting. They are observing. From here they read the world. They watch where animals move, where mist gathers above water, and where smoke from distant natural fires rises into the sky. This is how they choose direction, not by guess, but by careful attention. Today, the group prepares for a longer stay. The area holds signs of repeated animal travel, and nearby trees provide enough wood to maintain steady fire. Immediately, they begin constructing a more secure shelter than usual. Thick branches are placed in a circular frame, pushed deep into the ground and covered with layered hides and leaves. The entrance faces away from the wind. Inside, the ground is cleared and lined with dry grass for insulation. It is still simple, but compared to open camps, it feels protected. Fire-making becomes especially important here. Rather than a small flame, they build a steady hearth using stones arranged to hold heat. Large stones are placed near the fire so they warm during the day and release heat slowly during the night. This simple method makes the shelter warmer after sunset. You realize how carefully they use the materials around them. Nothing is wasted because everything has value. Water must still be carried from a stream farther down the slope. Several members traveled together to collect it, using skin containers tied securely. The path is steep and slippery in places. Each trip takes effort, yet it must be repeated many times. A modern person might underestimate how heavy water becomes when carried by hand across uneven land. During the afternoon, tool maintenance continues. Some people shape wooden shafts for spears, straightening them slowly over gentle heat so the wood does not crack. Others polish stone points against rough rock, sharpening edges again. These tasks are done quietly, almost rhythmically. You begin to notice how calm their movements are. They do not rush. They know rushing leads to mistakes, and mistakes here can cost survival. Children gather small sticks and practice throwing them at marked spots in the dirt. It is not play alone. It is training. They learn balance, aim, and patience early, because these skills will support them as adults. No formal lessons exist, yet learning never stops. As evening approaches, clouds drift across the sky and a cool wind follows. The group brings more wood inside the shelter entrance, so it remains dry for the night. Food tonight is gathered roots, a few fish from a nearby pool, and dried meat from earlier success. The meal is simple but nourishing. Everyone eats slowly, and afterward tools are placed carefully within reach for the morning. The night grows quiet except for the steady crackle of the fire. Shadows move softly along the shelter walls. Outside, the wind passes across the hillside, and the land stretches silent and vast beyond the small circle of warmth. One person remains awake, watching both the fire and the darkness outside, listening for unfamiliar movement. You lie on the layered grass wrapped in hide covering, feeling the warmth of heated stones nearby. The ground is still hard, but compared to open earth, it feels almost comfortable. And in this stillness, you understand that survival here is not a single dramatic struggle. It is a continuous series of careful actions, gathering, repairing, observing, and sharing, repeated every day without pause beneath the wide, ancient sky. The following morning begins quietly. A faint gray light spreads across the hills while mist settles low in the valleys below. The fire is burned down to glowing embers, but it has survived the night, and that alone brings comfort to the group. One person kneels beside it and slowly feeds small pieces of dry wood into the ash until thin smoke rises again, then gentle flame returns. Fire is treated almost like a living companion here. It must be cared for, protected, and never ignored. Today, the group does not travel immediately. Instead, they prepare the surrounding area to make their stay safer. The ground around the shelter is cleared of loose brush and fallen leaves, so sparks cannot spread into a wildfire. Sharp stones are moved away from walking paths to prevent injury in the dark. These small actions seem simple, but each reduces danger in a world where accidents carry serious consequences. Afterward, several members head toward the stream again. The journey downhill is easier than climbing back up. They carry empty skin containers and simple wooden bowls. At the water's edge, they kneel carefully, watching the current. Even drinking water requires attention. Mud stirred too quickly can cloud the water, and slippery stones can cause falls. They fill the containers slowly, and then begin the long climb back to camp, resting more than once along the slope. Meanwhile, others remain behind to gather nearby plants. They dig gently into the earth with wooden sticks, pulling out edible roots. Dirt is brushed away carefully because soil dulls teeth and wastes effort when eating. Nearby bushes hold small berries not yet fully ripe, but some are gathered anyway and placed on flat stones near the fire to soften in warmth. By midday, the sun grows warm. For the first time in many days, the group rests briefly in shade. Not sleep, but quiet sitting. Energy must be conserved for evening tasks. You notice how they choose rest wisely, not as leisure but as preparation for continued effort. Even relaxation has purpose. Later, a new task begins: hide preparation. The skin from a previous hunt has dried enough to work. Several people stretch it tightly between wooden stakes driven into the ground. Using stone scrapers, they remove remaining tissue slowly and carefully. The work takes hours. Arms grow tired, yet they continue steadily. When finished, the hide will become clothing, blankets, and ties for tools. Every stage requires patience because rushing tears the material. The afternoon wind rises, carrying scents from far away: animals, plants, and distant rain. One of the elders notices and points toward the horizon. Dark clouds are forming far off. The group prepares early. Extra wood is brought inside the shelter, tools are covered, and the fire pit is reinforced with stones so rain will not extinguish it easily. As evening approaches, the sky darkens and a light rain begins. The shelter holds well. Water runs down the sloped hides and into the soil outside. Inside, the fire glows warmly, reflecting off stone and hide walls. The group gathers close, and the space feels smaller but secure. Conversation is soft. Someone hums a simple tune while others repair bindings on spears. Children listen and slowly drift to sleep beside the warm stones. Outside, the rain falls steadily, yet inside there is calm. Safety here does not mean luxury. It means preparation worked as intended. You sit quietly watching the flames move and realize how much of this life depends on foresight. The people did not wait for the storm to begin before acting. They read the sky hours earlier and prepared. Survival in this age is not strength alone, but awareness, noticing small changes before they become danger. The rain continues into the night, tapping gently above the shelter while the fire burns steady. The group rests in shifts again, someone always awake to watch the embers and listen beyond the walls, ready to respond if needed. Beneath the endless and patient darkness of the ancient world, by morning the rain has passed, leaving the world washed clean and quiet. The ground outside the shelter is damp and cool, and the air smells of wet soil and leaves. Thin mist hangs low along the hillside. For a short moment the land feels peaceful, but the group does not relax completely. Rain brings both opportunity and risk. Fresh tracks are now visible in the soft earth, yet slippery ground makes walking more dangerous. After checking the fire and warming themselves, several members move carefully around the camp, inspecting the area. During the night, animals often travel, while rain masks their sound. Sure enough, prints appear in the mud, small deer tracks, and also the deeper marks of a larger predator that passed at a distance. The discovery does not cause panic, but it changes behavior. The group remains closer together today and keeps spears nearby at all times. Morning tasks begin with repairing damage caused by the storm. Some parts of the shelter sag slightly under the weight of wet hides. Branches are tightened, coverings adjusted, and drainage cleared so water flows away from the entrance. These repairs must be done early because another storm later would worsen any weakness left unattended. Food gathering resumes. Rain often loosens roots, making them easier to dig. People spread out within sight of one another and work slowly, kneeling in the damp soil. Mud coats their hands and clothing, yet they continue patiently. Nearby, insects gather again after the rain, and smoke from a small daytime fire keeps them at distance. The hunters decide to follow the fresh deer tracks. Moving through wet ground requires silence and balance. Every step is placed carefully to avoid slipping or snapping a branch. They pause often, listening. The forest after rain carries sound clearly. A distant movement of hooves echoes softly, guiding their direction. The pursuit lasts much of the afternoon. At times the trail disappears across rocky patches, but experienced eyes find it again. A bent plant here, a disturbed patch of moss there. Eventually the animal is found grazing near a clearing. The hunters circle slowly, working together without speaking. The moment arrives, a spear is thrown, and after a short chase the hunt succeeds. Work begins immediately. The animal must be prepared before nightfall. The group cooperates smoothly. Some cut meat, others gather branches for transport, and others keep watch. Even in success, caution remains because the smell of blood travels far. Carrying the meat uphill back to camp is exhausting. Muscles strain and breathing grows heavy, but no one stops for long. The effort is worth it. Back at the shelter, cooking begins while daylight remains. Some meat roasts over flame, and some is sliced thin and hung above smoke to dry for future days. Evening settles gently. The rain-cooled air makes the fire feel warmer than usual. For the first time in several days, everyone eats enough to feel strength returning. Conversation grows a little lighter. Children watch closely, learning the careful process of preserving food and maintaining tools. Night approaches once more, but now the camp feels more secure. Food is stored, shelter repaired, and the fire burns strong. One person still takes watch, sitting quietly near the entrance, listening beyond the circle of light while others sleep. You rest near the warm stones, hearing only the steady crackle of burning wood and the distant movement of the forest beyond. And again it becomes clear. Living here requires constant awareness, cooperation, and patience. Every safe night is not luck, but the result of many careful choices made throughout the day. The next day begins before sunrise, while the sky is still deep blue and the stars fade slowly above the hills. The person who kept watch during the night gently wakes the others. The fire never went out, and thin smoke rises quietly into the cool morning air. No one lingers long after waking. In this world, the early hours are valuable. Animals move most during dawn, and people must move with them. The group prepares quickly but carefully. Dried meat from the previous day's hunt is divided into small portions and wrapped in hide so it can be carried easily. Nothing heavy is taken unless necessary. Travel always balances weight and need. Carrying too much slows the body and wastes strength. Carrying too little risks hunger later. Experience guides the decision. Today they leave the hillside camp. The food gathered and hunted here will not last forever, and animals rarely remain in one place for long. The shelter is dismantled. Branches are pulled free, hides folded, and the fire carefully covered with soil so it cannot spread. Within a short time, the place looks almost untouched, as if no one stayed there at all. The group carries its life with it. They descend toward a forested valley. The ground becomes softer underfoot and trees provide shade. Walking here is quieter, but visibility is limited. The group tightens formation, keeping children in the center. Every person watches a different direction while moving. It is a shared awareness. No single person carries the responsibility alone. Midday arrives with warmth. A narrow river appears ahead and everyone stops for water. Some drink while others check the banks for tracks. Fresh marks in the mud show animals have visited recently. That is good for hunting, but it also means predators may come as well. The group decides to camp nearby but not directly beside the water, choosing slightly higher ground where they can see approaching movement. Building camp begins again. Branches are cut, hides stretched, and a small windbreak formed. Fire is lit using preserved embers carried in a wrapped container of ash and bark. You realize the group rarely starts fire from nothing. They protect flame continuously, carrying it from place to place like a fragile treasure. Afternoon tasks divide naturally. Some gather wood, others search for edible plants near the riverbank, and two hunters prepare simple traps for small animals using bent branches and fiber cord. These traps require knowledge and patience. They may not succeed today, but tomorrow they might provide food without long pursuit. As the sun lowers, birds settle into trees and insects grow louder near the water. The group cooks a modest meal, a mix of dried meat and gathered greens. The food is plain, yet everyone eats with quiet focus because nourishment means energy for tomorrow's travel. Darkness spreads slowly beneath the trees. The fire glows warmly, lighting the faces gathered around it. Someone quietly shapes a wooden handle for a new tool, scraping it smooth with a stone blade. Another repairs a tear in a hide covering. Work never truly stops, it only becomes slower and quieter at night. And a watch is set again. One person remains awake, seated near the fire, occasionally adding wood and listening beyond the flickering light. The forest produces endless small sounds, leaves shifting, water moving over stones, distant animal calls. The watcher listens for anything unusual, ready to wake the others if needed. You lie back on the ground covered with grass and hides. Above the trees, narrow gaps reveal a sky full of stars. The air smells of smoke and damp earth. You feel tired in a way deeper than ordinary fatigue, the kind that comes from constant movement and attention. And in this stillness you understand once more why a modern person would struggle to endure even a single full day here. Survival in the Stone Age is not one great challenge, but thousands of small ones. Walking, watching, gathering, sharing, repeated every hour, every day, beneath a world that never pauses. Morning returns with a faint glow through the trees, and the forest slowly wakes with it. First come the distant bird calls, then the rustle of small animals moving through fallen leaves, and finally the quiet movement of the group as they stir beside the fading fire. No one needs to be told what to do. Each person already knows their task. The fire is fed, water is collected, and the camp is checked for any sign of animals passing during the night. Near the edge of the riverbank, new tracks appear in the mud. Deer again, but also smaller prints from rabbits and birds. This encourages the group. Today will not be a long journey. Instead, they will remain nearby and rely on careful gathering and small hunts to restore energy after the previous days of travel. Several people check the trap set the evening before. They walk slowly, approaching from downwind so their scent does not frighten animals caught nearby. One trap holds a small animal, and the group treats this success with quiet appreciation. Even a small catch matters. The animal is prepared carefully and nothing is wasted. Bones are saved for needles or hooks, skin for binding material, and meat for the day's meal. Back at the camp, preparation begins again. Stones are arranged around the fire to hold cooking heat, and flat rocks are placed near the edge to warm food slowly. Smoke rises straight upward in the still morning air. The group works calmly, conserving energy while still completing every task needed for survival. Children remain close to the camp today. They practice simple skills, weaving thin plant fibers together and learning how to tie knots used in traps and bindings. These lessons are quiet and patient. No one rushes them, because learning must last a lifetime. Knowledge here is protection, and every child must carry it forward. By midday, the sun grows warmer, and the group rests briefly in the shade. Not sleep, but stillness. People sit and sharpen tools, scraping stone edges gently until they are smooth and sharp again. The sound is steady and repetitive, almost rhythmic. In this world, even rest is productive. Later in the afternoon, a small hunting party follows fresh tracks deeper into the forest. The ground is soft, and the hunters move silently, stepping carefully over roots and fallen branches. They pause often to listen. Eventually they spot movement, a small group of animals feeding among low plants. The hunters coordinate quietly, guiding them toward a natural boundary formed by rocks. After careful timing, a spear is thrown, and the hunt succeeds again, though modestly. Returning to camp before dusk, they share the results with everyone. The fire grows brighter and food is prepared quickly while daylight remains. Tonight's meal is slightly better than recent days, and relief shows in calmer expressions and relaxed posture around the fire. As evening deepens, work continues. Hides are stretched to dry and tools are placed neatly within reach. The river moves quietly nearby, reflecting faint starlight. One by one, people lie down to rest, while a watch is again chosen. The routine repeats, steady and reliable. You sit quietly near the fading flames, realizing how much discipline this life requires. There is no day without effort, and no night without caution. The group survives not because life is easy, but because every member participates, every moment has purpose, and no task is ignored. The fire glows low as the forest settles into darkness. Above the trees, the stars appear once more, and the group rests together, ready to rise again with the first hint of light and continue the endless rhythm of survival beneath the ancient sky. Now, after walking with this small group through many sunrises and many nights, you begin to understand the final lesson of their world. The Stone Age was not a single adventure or a short struggle. It was a complete way of living where every sunrise demanded effort, and every sunset marked survival for one more day. The morning begins gently. A pale orange light spreads through the trees and mist rises from the river. The group wakes quietly, almost naturally with the light. No one rushes, yet no one delays. Fire is awakened from its embers, water is collected, and tools are checked as they have been every day before. The rhythm now feels familiar. Nothing is dramatic, but everything matters. Today, the group prepares to move once more. The animals near the river have begun to travel farther, and staying here too long would risk empty hunting grounds. So the camp is taken apart calmly. Hides are folded, tools wrapped, and the last coals of the fire are scattered safely into the soil. Within a short time, the place looks untouched again, as if only the wind and trees had ever lived there. They begin walking into the open land beyond the forest. The sky is wide, and the sun climbs slowly above distant hills. Children walk between adults, and the strongest carry the heaviest bundles. No one complains. Movement is part of life here, just as natural as breathing. Along the way, they pause near a patch of wild plants. Several people kneel and gather food carefully. leaving enough behind so it will grow again later. Even gathering shows awareness. They do not take everything. They take only what they need because they understand the land must continue to provide. Hours pass in steady walking. The group drinks from a small stream, rests briefly, and then continues. Their survival depends not on speed but on endurance. Step after step across uneven ground, they move forward guided by memory and experience older than any written history. As the sun lowers, they choose a new place to rest. The shelter begins again, branches set into the ground, hides stretched across them, and a fire lit at the center of their small world. The familiar circle of light returns, pushing back the darkness beyond its edges. They share a simple meal. Some dried meat remains and a few gathered plants soften in the heat of the fire. The food is plain, yet it brings strength. Around the flames they sit close, repairing tools and quietly watching sparks rise into the night sky. Above them the stars appear once again, bright and endless. No buildings block the horizon. No distant noise interrupts the night. Only wind, insects, and the steady crackle of the fire fill the air. You realize this is how most humans lived for countless generations, not surrounded by walls and lights, but directly beneath the sky, depending on knowledge, cooperation, and patience. You finally understand why a modern person would struggle to last even a single day. Not because the people were weaker or the world was cruel, but because every moment required awareness. Food was earned, warmth was protected, safety was shared, and survival belonged to the entire group, never just one individual. The fire burns lower. One last person remains awake to watch the embers while the others sleep. Tomorrow they will rise again and repeat the same careful rhythm, just as their ancestors did long before memory. And now, as we quietly step away from their camp and leave the soft glow of the fire behind, the ancient landscape fades into darkness and stillness. If you enjoyed this slow journey into the distant past, you can gently support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and sharing which time in history you would like to walk through next. The night settles, the stars remain above, and our story comes to rest.